Hi everyone, welcome back to the Jansen Art Studio, our continuing study of the Dutch Masters. We got just a couple of lessons left, and what we're doing is going to concentrate. I'm going to show you how to start working some of the detail work. Now there's a lot of detail work here. There's bugs, and I can't remember exactly what we said. There was like 27 different bugs in here. And there's tons of water drops and small little plants and stuff. They're not difficult paints. They're pretty easy paints actually. There's not too much value control and stuff with them, so they go relatively quickly. But there's a lot of them, and then how much detail you put in is going to be up to you. I've decided, there's a lot of things like down on our peach and stuff. There's flies and stuff, and I've painted flies with Van Hyacinth before, and I've painted some really pretty ones, and I've come back to today and look at them and say, oh, I wish I hadn't done that particular type of bug. They were important during, the Vanitas period, the Vanitas type of paintings. They were symbolized there, and it was always symbolized that these beautiful flowers, this beautiful fruit and stuff like that has a short period of life here on the earth, and only their dedication to God is long term. So those were very important to put in moldy fruit and dead things and flies, and the butterflies represent the metamorphosis of Christ. There's a lot of symbolism and meaning there. I'm going to put in some of the butterflies, maybe not all of them. You have the final photo, and I'll refer you back to the classroom for the final photo that you can print off to look at some of those things. But we'll cover in the last two lessons here, we'll cover quite a few of some details, okay? And I'll show you some ways to approach it. First thing that you can do, let's come on down to our painting here that I have. Now, the first thing that we can do is we can either transfer some of the lines out here for which were off of the pattern, or you can do what I'm going to do is I'm just going to reference sketch it in here with a chalk pencil with a real fine little line. And I'm going to be painting, I still have my palette here all the way from the beginning. And this entire class that's lasted here. And so I'm going to be using all the colors in acrylic, so they'll dry fairly quickly, and then I can use just a little bit of moisture and a little rubbing to take some of this chalk line off. So I'm going to just lightly sketch here with some chalk some of my nice of the wheat and stuff like that. Okay, that puts on, and sketch in some butterflies and stuff like that. But you can transfer, but they're small. There's a lot of details here. And you can sketch them on here too pretty quickly. Right up in through here we have and you look at it's going to be right past the joint of this one, right in here and there. There's going to be a little butterfly that's going to be up here, and he's going to have a little curved wing that comes up almost to a point and down, and then this almost like an oval shaped type of wing that is going to go right into the edge of this. So he's going to come right in here. There'll be a second higher little wing that's back there, back behind, and you'll see just a little point of that. So that'll be right in here will be that butterfly. There'll be one right in there. Here, I can widen that oval out just a bit there. And that's just right about the right size for him. And there's a smaller little one here. Whether or not you add that, that's up to you. There'll be a pointed one coming right into this area here with a small little. You have a lot of these little bugs and critters crawling around over there. Now, when it comes to putting on some of the stalks here, the stems and everything, like these little flowers here, this one is going to come up right back behind this one right here, kind of, and then a quick sharp turn down, and it's going to head right down here by this pooty, right down over the pooty, right down to here. So you can just kind of curve this line and then wiggle it around just a little bit like that, right down here till you get down by the pooty, and it'll break off one direction and it'll break off another direction right over here by his arm stuff here. So, and that'll set that back there, and then we'll put little flowers off of that. It also breaks right up here, right about into here, off, and comes out, and we'll go right over the edge of this, and right before it gets right into that turn handle, it'll break down into a little set of flowers there, and then we'll continue on up and kind of around and up over to here, and then come down like little S's and lines come down almost, not quite, but almost to the edge of that end right there. and then we'll put some little flowers and stuff off of that. So you can see sometimes doing it like this is a lot easier to, use your positions of the stuff you already have. You know you're going to come right down into the center of that handle. Use those positions right there that you already know you have to help you, do some of your sketching here, because there's a lot of stems. Let's come right up over here, starting right by the center of this flower here. It's going to, the big one here, it's going to come up and it's going to cross right about this area here. So you know it's going to come right up through here like this, up in a big arch right over here, and it's going to end up right up into this area right up here. So we'll just arch this right up over here like this, right up into that area there. That's where that, and all those little wheat kind of things are going to come off of that one there. There'll be some leaves and stuff, turning kind of leaves there, going there. We have right back behind this butterfly, there's going to come right up by the part of this wheat here. It's going to actually curve like this and then kind of point its way up, so it comes down like that. There'll be another one, and it actually starts out underneath here. It's going to come in, start right about in here, cross underneath, come up through like this, and up, and right out into the open area right here, crossing over this, some of the leaf there. It's going to come out like that, and there'll be 3 areas here of some of those stuff there. There's a lot more stalks and stuff over there, but we'll draw those when we get over there to the other side. Now, I still have some other houting to do, some other houting on the other side here that I want to do, and I know that I've got to do that, but I'm going to just go ahead and put some of these in right now. But this background that's over here, I still have to get that darker, and before the finishing video, before we're all done, I'll be doing that. You might want to do it 1 or 2 more times too, to get some of that in there. Okay, now what I'm going to do is I'm going to come in a little closer here, and let's come in just a little bit closer, and let's talk, before I go in to paint some of this area here, I might want to put in a little bit more. We talked about this in earlier videos. Take my 3/4 inch brush here with some extender, and push in some more of my cast shadows. Now the light side is to here. This actually sits into the shadow line here. So, you can put in, and you just be careful, just lightly brush on a little bit of extender into this area. Careful you don't lose your chalk lines that you just put on. Just lightly put in a little bit there. Okay, so you can still see your chalk lines here. Now, if you are, working at home, and I'm working on the camera and trying to show you many things here at the same time, you could go ahead and put in some of the shadowing and then dry it really well, and draw your chalk lines too. You can do that at the same time. But since I'm trying to do multiple things here with you in the video at the same time, and trying to keep we have studio production time down with it. We're trying to, I would do it this way, but this way works too. So I might come in here now with a little bit of black and some blue here, some ultramarine blue and black, nice real shadowy blue here. And they use black, unopposed to the, the Impressionist painters that came later. They used a lot of black into their colors here. And I have my colors out here, this acrylic, and I'm just going to add a little bit of extender here to them. And I'm just going to be glazing on here, just like we do with a houting, glazing on and darkening down this shadow a little, put a little more depth into that shadow there, like that. And I'm going to do the same thing down, and maybe, looking down here underneath and pushing back some more of this Pooty down in through here. And we know he gets a little more shadow, a little deeper shadow down in through here maybe. Push that back, a little more depth. It gives just a little more depth. Push him back a little. And it's up to you, It's, this is just adding some more depth of shadow. Let me step back just a bit here. Adding some more depth of shadow right down in through here. And he's quite dark, on his it's quite dark. Of course, the original, the photos that we have and the photos that are provided by the National Gallery show him, a lot darker than what it is actually there. But I might want to push in a cast shadow in here a little bit more, back behind this, onto these primrose. These other primrose come up on top, but I can push some of these back down a little bit more here. And you're just glazing on a little thin color here. And it's better to do it a couple of times thin than to get it too much here. Glaze on a little bit more of a shadow here onto the cast shadow here onto this side of the handle there of that. So you get a better feeling of shadowing coming down through here. And maybe down in through this whole area here. We have through light. This is going to be through light back through here. But this can get shadowed back just a bit more here. Very soft glaze, and you can use a mop brush over it a little bit if you want to soften it. But I'm using the big Fusion brush here, which is very soft, which gives me just a real nice glaze right on top of that there, and pushes some of that back just a little bit more. So I get a nice, and the shadow, we want to do it here first before we paint these little blue flowers, so that these little blue flowers can sit right up on top of this. And they will create that extra little bit of depth because they're coming right in front of a shadowed area. That's why we want to kind of do it right now. So we have through light right there. We'll keep that through light. We'll shadow a little bit of that primrose right there. And so you can look through, as you're looking through some of your shadows, as I look through my painting now, one of the things I might want to look at is, as I'm adding some of these details in this area. And remember, we talked about this earlier, is there's a lot of it, I look at the whole painting globally. And that's where the word global color comes from we use for global paints. I look at this globally, and then I can start coming in and looking at the globally, looking at everything, looking at light and dark areas. But then as I start to refine my eye down into little bit of areas and working on detail now, I can come back in and refine a little bit more with some cast shadows, some other types of glazing here. When we did Van Elst years ago, we glazed and glazed and glazed, and that's what they do. That's what he did. He glazed and glazed and glazed. That gives you the greatest the depth here. So, we'll push back here some of these a little bit more here, and push that back there like that. So you get a nice shadowing there. Nice shadow depth in here, you can see, and just barely be able to see some of that pooty in there, but you definitely see that shadow, and that's what makes that magnificent in there. So you'll look at that, and these types of glazing shadows that we look at, even before we come up to this other area. I'll look back through some of this area, put a light coat of extender on here. You can, before you even go to work any of this, you can give it a coat of sealer or a glaze medium to protect it, before you're doing some of this. So if you do make a mistake, or you make a sketching mistake or something, you can wipe it off and not hurt your design. I didn't do that, but you certainly can. But like right in here now, we can put in a cast shadowing or turned a global shadow here for the this little primrose back through here. So I'll start looking through my design here, and I will do this several times when I start looking at something like this. And the glazing of this, I will glaze like this several times through the painting. So start turning some flowers back, adding some some additional shadows and stuff. Like you might want to have a little bit more of a shadow here on this big iris that's through here. Look to your global shadows here, but you start looking at little bits of it, and use the photos and the final photo, and start seeing where do you see some of the shadows right back into some of this area here. You might want to increase that cast shadow there that's there on that one. Drop some of that in. There is a cast shadow here that's going to be on this little marigold gold here that is down from this one. So we might even just want to refine that cast shadow a little bit more here. Drop that down like that so that they see that that's a nice cast shadow falling on there. There is, you know, we have this dark little edge here of this rose. You can refine that shadow edge in there a little bit more. These are just some of the glazes, and these are really fun to do, to look at putting some of this shadowy, cool shadow glaze to you know, to really kind of enhance what we've already done in some of those areas there, and it works quite well. And put some of this shadow back in here on some of the edges of these roses. It kind of, you think, okay, now I'll just glaze over this edge of this rose here, and that whole shadow side there really starts to you know, you start to see it more just by glazing that back. So as we start some of these details, one of the things as you're going around and looking is glazing in some of the contour, or what we call the form shadow of the object, and even some of the cast shadows you might want to refine. A little bit of ultramarine blue and black, okay? And start working through some of your painting. And here where we had that little blue flower down here at the very bottom, barely almost off the screen there, we'll push a little more shadow back behind it, so when we put those final petals on there, they'll come really forward. But nice areas, a nice crisp dark part of the shadow. You may come back again. You might do this a couple times here. Just find some of those nice shadows. That just gives you so much interest there. Okay, so you'll go through all the painting here, all these areas here, looking for some of those cast shadows and form shadows and stuff, and they help quite a bit. Now, with that said, I'm going to go over here with a little bit of water in my round brush here, and we're going to start working on this. I need myself kind of a light green here, and you can make your green a couple of different ways. Of course, we have our phthalo green blue here, which is such a beautiful color, and we can add some yellow oxide and some Hansa yellow to that to make these beautiful greens. That just matches his green so very well here. And just find yourself a nice green here that we can use for some of the stems. A little bit more phthalo blue, touch of black will be a nice shadow. A little bit more Hansa yellow here, touch of white over one side over here. This will make nice light colored greens, yellow greens. Here, that'll give me some nice light greens to touch into. Let's take our round brush here. Let's go into our medium color here, slightly into the darker color here. And darken that down just a bit here. And we're going to come right in here. Let me come in a little bit more now again. Okay. We'll come in just a little bit, and then we'll start that stem a little darker right here because it's in more of the cast shadow area there. Then we'll lighten that green up just a bit here and just kind of scooch around on it there just a bit, and up and over like that down here. Okay, then we'll start to pick up a little more light with that as we come down here and drag this down. And I like to do shorter bits of it. We'll add a little bit of light to that. And what happens is, especially when you're doing this in short, is you get little areas of beads of color that come out, and then you also get kind of smooth areas, and that really creates the interest of it. Now, we'll change the green back a little bit. You can sometimes roll your brush like this, and you'll get different highs and lows of the color as you're modeling the brush with some of these different colors like this. Okay. So you can just touch right along, and you'll get little highs and lows, little highlights and shadows of it, you know, here. Some of this is going to let's come right up over into this area here. We're going to have a little set of leaves. Then we'll come down, right down. It's going to come all the way down here by over his arm and stuff into this area that we said, right in there like that. Okay, and we can come down just a bit there. Bigger, longer one. Go back to some medium, maybe a touch of that light. Coming right off of this one, roll the brush a little bit, wiggle it and roll it so you get some variation to that color. Or you can come back and touch a little bit of the darker or lighter color as you need. I like little, and he does like little areas of shine, like this little bump right up here might get a little shine. Then that fades away, like it got hit by the light right there. I'll do the same. I kind of like little areas of that, like right where that joint is. A little light right in there. Okay, then maybe back to some of our medium color greens here. And this is going to come right down into the little handle area, breaks off. We'll have little blue flowers there. And little stems. Of course, you can add more now. You know, some of his brushes, he went down to like one-haired little brushes to do some of this little final detailing here. Add a little light sometimes. Little light hits. Especially like where there's a little joint there. It's kind of nice to... And the movements can have like little angular movements to it. That's what natural branches. They're not always just smooth, round liner strokes. They'll have some little bumpiness to it and little angular things. So they're not like smooth lines here. They're like that. So now you really see that light green coming out. We'll come back and hit a few other areas with some highlight. Maybe right up here on the tip of this. And let that go down there like that. Roll a little bit more here and there. A little bit more light here like that. Now we'll take some of that medium green, maybe a bit of that light color in here. And let's come right off of this joint here, and this is what we'll do to put in the shape of a little leaf here. So I just kind of roll right up onto the point of that brush there. Let a few streaks kind of happen there. We'll pick up some medium to some dark color and just streak a little bit of that in there. Just like that. And that will give you the look of that leaf. Let's put another one in. Right here, maybe coming off of this one. That leaf. And down like he has there. Onto that one. And let's just add a little shadow tone to that. Just a little bit. Let's come off of this one here. Right into this area, right by this handle here. Little leaf coming off. And down. Here. Maybe a touch of light right there. A little bit more touch of light. Right at the edge coming off where it's wrapping off of that. Right there like that. Maybe just a bit more green right here. Get some of that nice variation of those colors. Let's do some more. Coming right off of here, another little light leaf. Coming off to a little point. Give it a little highlight. Little light color here. Just kind of roll the brush a little, and that's what gives you the most interest more than anything else. You can go in there and shadow and do all that kind of stuff, but just rolling the brush like that just does so much. It really does. Let's break this off into a few more little touches here, areas. Right where this breaks off, you can hit that little more highlight there. So there you got this beautiful, kind of stem coming down through there. We'll put some additional, little tiny green leaf touches out here. A couple of different values onto it here. Just get this model the tip of that brush with a couple of different greens, and we'll just add a touch or two out here where almost like little tiny leaves where we're going to be putting some of these flowers here and little stems and such here. Back up over here. Here, little bits going out there. Right out there like that. A few little touches of that. Boy, there's just all kinds of stuff. There's little other ones back here into the backside, which we'll do here in just a second. But it'll give you kind of the idea how we're going to approach a lot of these stems and stuff. Let's take some of our blues, ultramarine blue, and some white here. Just model a nice lighter blue. And we'll start out kind of medium here, kind of a nice little medium blue. Then we'll add little touches of light and dark to it. So as you know, we're going to do these little flowers that are right in here, and they're little 4 and 5 petal flowers here. And if you look up close at this stuff, they're just amazing. But little 4 and 5 petal flowers here. Just a little bit more blue here. There we go. You would put little 4, 5 petal flowers. One right there. Let's drop this one in here. And he would add little vein lines to these and all kinds of little work that, and like I said, such a long time ago, in the beginning of the lesson, this was their TV. This is what they did in the evenings, is to look at these types of paintings. So, they had a tremendous amount of work and detail. And like I said, Van Heysen was criticized for his amount of detail that he put in his paintings, because it was, a lot of other artists couldn't afford that kind of time. And but he had a technique that allowed him to do that, to put those kinds of details in there. And that one got just a bit big, I think. So I'll just take a little bit of that down side there. It looks big on the monitor and up and stuff, but then when you compare it to everything else, it's kind of small. Here we go. One right in there like that, and another one right in here. And I don't try to hit them exactly like he had here. Just coming close. Just get an idea here. And I'll join some of that up with some small little greens. Little tiny stem work here. You can start to frilly that up with some like little leaves and stuff at the end there. Like that. Little bits there, and he put some yellows into the center. Take a little yellow oxide, a little bit of his orpiment type color here. Let's add just a touch constant to that. He would put a yellow in and then put like a little thin line of yellow around that center. I'm not going to go into that much detail. That requires that one hair brush. But we can just drag a little bit of that around and give a suggestion of that center. There we go. Around. Like that. pretty nice. And I like that variation of those yellows there. I might take some of that a little bit of that lighter yellow up here. They're happening right in there. That's pretty good. Right out into this one, we have 3 little flowers, and it was so funny, these little flowers, these little blue flowers and stuff have little trumpet bottoms to it, and so here, like one on the side here, he even shows the trumpet. Just an amazing, amazing detail that, you know, if you want, that's up to you. Now you can put this blue on, then you can go back and glaze them a little brighter or a little darker as you want. Like you might take it like he has like these little petals on this one here a little darker. You can glaze those or just add some color in there like that. It's all about how much time you have also in your painting, how much time you're going to get your painting. Like I say, if I was doing this as a hobby or something like that, I might take my time and really enjoy this painting and put a tremendous amount of little detail in it. But you know, since I'm a production painter, I can't put that kind of detail in there because I can't sell this painting for all it's worth. So I can just quickly add some nice detail like that, but maybe not refine that as much as what he does on his paintings here, because I just can't afford that kind of time. We'll turn one here, just a couple of small petals there, a little darker blue, and he would even show the little trumpet bottom to this one here, so he might take a little green and show a little trumpet bottom there to it. Here we'll take a little more lighter blue, come out here, let's put another one here. There we go. And a little more yellow. A little bit more. A little bit of yellow into that one. Vary the yellows though. You get a lot by varying the yellows. And to show you just how small those flowers, let me come in a little closer. You can see some of that variation into those flowers. But, you know, they're smaller than my finger here that I'm putting on. And they're teeny little flowers. They're small. You know, you look at them in comparison to your primroses and stuff, which are already pretty small. And these things are just amazingly small, you know, in the detailing here. So we come out here, out to this one, and we'll come right out and let me get a little more blue. Color I'm working with here, a little more of my blue, and some extra white here, little blue flowers, and we'll make one here that's turned it back up that way, put a little darker blue on the side here. One turned. Sometimes he would have almost a greenish color here underneath it, and I think that's just some of his color just fugitating away here. Beautiful little details here. That little flower growing there. Maybe a little more touch of light. It's so much better like in those greens. Now see, I worked those greens, and I used the painting knife there and mixed up quite a bit of the green, and that worked a lot better. You might want to do that with the blue. I'm constantly having to redo this blue, so you might want to go in there and do that with like your blue here as well. Let's add another one right in here. Another little turned one. Let's give it a little bit of yellow. Some yellow little streaks on this one. Put a little trumpet end on it here. Little trumpet end on this one. That one got a little big, so I'm just going to restate that. Get more of a petal, flower petal shape there. That's prettier. You need to have little dashed lines and little bits like little leaves and the ends of these. And make sure we add like a little stem to that one. There. Come back that way. Little stems are going to come out, little lines, extra little tiny leaves here, little point on it, little flower that's going to come down right there, little ends with here you put just magnificent detail. I'm just going to suggest the shape there. And maybe a little bit of light, even a little light blue onto some of that. Just some light little touch there. But look what that does to this whole area. It just gives just another little nice interest. Just going to loosen up this green just a bit here. But it helps a lot when you palette knife mix those up. And, you know, you still want to get modeled for interest and stuff, but that palette knife will give you a few more color. I mean, a little longer working with it. Don't have to mix up. Keep constantly brush mixing. Here. As long as you palette knife up the variation for the colors. Here we go, a little blue sideways one there. Let's put a little touch of light on it. There we go. And so you see now when we step back, that gives me those little blue flowers. And you step back, look how much, you know, look at the interest that those have back down into there. So you got those to get on. There's a lot of these types of things. I'm just gonna, you know, we won't have time in the video to show all the detail in here, but you know, we can sure capture. You can sure catch quite a bit of it. Now we have this longer one here that's going to go out, and then we have this top one. I think I'll do the top one up here, a little bit more to the yellow side. So be a little careful here. Let's do this the smart way here too. Let's pull out. Let's take our knife here and let's pull out some of my yellow oxide. We'll kind of loosen that up right here onto the palette. Some yellow oxide. Let's put out a little bit of my Hansa yellow. Maybe a little bit of my raw sienna, which is very close to that Rilgar. And of course, like I said so many times, he liked that Indian yellow too, which he started using about this time. Take a little dark light yellow and some of those yellows together there and get that, or excuse me, the Naples yellow hue with that's the color he liked, with a little bit of that white. There. You get a nice Naples yellow hue kind of color, Naples yellow color. A little bit of white out here with this. Here, we'll put some of that right out here. So we'll get that light color there. That's kind of pretty. Nice light. Gives you a nice variety of your yellows there. I'm going to clean that blue out of the brush. And I'm using just water and acrylic here, so these dry relatively quickly here. Let's take a lighter yellow. Some of our yellow oxide and Hansa and white here. A nice lighter yellow. Let's start our main stock here, and it comes down like this. And I'll drag this just a bit, so I'll get kind of, so it's not a smooth line. You know, it can be a little smooth, but it doesn't have to be exactly smooth. Here, there we go. Drag that down and change the color just a bit. Drag this down here. right down into that area there. And then there's just other little magnificent detail. One of the, like this one is going to come off right here with another little, kind of twig of it right here and right out like that. Okay. And what he actually did in there was even put a cast shadow from that right in there. Just amazing. Let's put a little green with that too. Just a little touch of green onto that. So that comes out a little yellow and a little green. You can twist around. Let's darken that down. Get a little different yellow and model that up. And right around the stalk here, you can twist a little one around like that. There. We'll come up here and you get more of these ribbon leaves up here at the top here. Especially right up into this area here. Let's get some of our Gaussian, it's that too, that orpiment type of color. Right up here, all the way up here by the top, and it's going to come down, join right into here. So it's going to come right around like this. Just model and roll your brush. That's where you get to see how I get that nice edge and some of that color coming off of there that's a little different. That just looks wonderful. And we'll come off of this and around and out over here. So we'll come off of this and around, widen it out around, and we'll go up and then back down again, right up back there like that. Wind that up and around. We'll put a little touch of green into that there. Why not? A little touch of green here and there. And then we'll put some highlights onto that as well. Some of my lighter yellow here. We'll hit some of these areas of highlight yellow here, right around through here onto this edge here and around. Where the light's going to hit that, around like that. A little darker colors, a little bit more raw sienna. If something like that one might be just a touch wide in some areas, and you can just use the edge of your small flat here and take some of it off like that, see? You don't have to, just take a little water on the edge of your small flat and push this right into a better shape that you might want to have there. That works quite well with it that way. And let's join some of these together a little bit more. There, like that. And a little bit of a shadow underneath there. That's quite good. And we'll continue that up. Take some more yellows. We'll continue that going up, following right over that chalk line here. And let's just draw that right up here like that. Add a few little lights here. Dance a few little lights. Here, like that. And we start to get skinnier here now, so we'll use more of the point of our round, go to a small liner, or sometimes I put it in, and I'll show you this too. Sometimes I'll take like the chisel edge of like a little 2 or some of your small brush here, and you put something like that on with a little chisel edge. That gives you a nice edge and a nice variation of your light as well. So there's a multitude of brushes that you can use on that, and the chisel edge, just picking up a little bit of color here like this, the chisel edge of one of these, careful not to put it in something wet, my hand, chisel edge just works really nice as well. Here, chisel edge of that flat, down like that. And or you can use the pointy around it. One of the things when I use the pointed around is I like to roll it. So as I'm working it here, I like to kind of roll it a little bit so I get a little variation to the line. So it's not a perfect liner brush stroke here. I like to roll the brush a little here to a little bit of that line. We'll grab some of this other out here like this. Let's darken that down just a bit. Here. We'll come down here. Let's come in just a bit more. There we go. And put some of these extra lines out here. Just the tip of that brush. And you might want to feed a few lines out here like this, where we'll put in some of the little, almost like little wheat stalks here. We're going to vary the yellows here. And as we start to come into this area here, we'll start to put that little light right there. Then we're just going to tap like little oval bits out here like this, out to both sides. Don't fill them all up because we'll change the tone. So there's a kind of a yellow oxide, kind of a medium yellow color here. We'll add a few out in here off of this one. There. We'll add a few off of this one. Vary the pressure a little. Sometimes use just a little tips and pull out just a touch here, like that. Okay. And we'll hit some of these. Some of these here. Out like that. Here. Let's get some in here. There, like that. Okay. Now you can also put in some, well, you know, and which is what he did is, I got to fill that in just a bit more. But you're going to fill it in with some of your, you know, like some other colors. Like here's some of my raw sienna, slightly darker tone here. I want to add a few into here, this one. But I'll add a few of those colors in there. Let's add a few little touches of that. Here, almost like thinking the shadow side, but you don't need to be that perfect with it, thinking the light and shadow side of it. Just get some nice color, you know, tonal variation. I want to take some of that yellow though to that raw sienna type color and whisper a little bit along the stalk there. Whisper a little bit as a shadow along this stalk here. There. That's pretty good. Let's take this out a little farther here. This one will come out this one just a little bit more. He comes out a little farther, like about like that. And hits a few more little bits out there. Like that. That gives a little closer look to what he did. And then we'll come in and we'll model in a little bit of our lighter color here. And I'm using just water with this because, you know, we're not blending or anything. We're just tapping little bits of color. So we'll hit, now don't get too many of these, but you need these for kind of like the little, these lights for kind of the spark to the to this whole area. So if you put too many of them, you reduce its visual impact. So don't get too wild and crazy. Just a few of them here in a few areas. just to see, that gives a nice visual impact here. Really brings it forward of some of the other stuff that we've painted in there. And boy, we've painted a lot of little stuff here. Can hit a few other little lines of it there. A few other little touches. Little highlights here and there along the way, little skips of highlight there. We've got another big ribbon leaf back here we still have to do. Coming back up off of this one here. And it's right up above this center here. We'll let it cross over like that and kind of curve around and back down. There. And a little bit of a darker one around and down over here. They're like these little ribbon leaves, can just kind of go everywhere there. And little bits of highlight, you can put a little green into them. All depends how much work you want to put into that. Put a little green into that one right up here. Kind of nice. That looks, you know, kind of nice there. With that nice raw sienna down here. Down like that. Okay. So you got that. I didn't make mine quite as figure 8 as he did, bending it back and forth, but I think that area looks pretty nice in there. Maybe a bit of a light, so it'll be a little different, but that's okay. There. I catch the feeling of it, a nice ribbon leaf coming up and going out this way towards that one. He has a big old fly right in there, and I'm not going to do that. You know, it's just you just kind of sketch the shape like that. We'll show a few butterflies and stuff, though. I'm going to stay away from the flies this time, I think. I'm going down to back up over here towards my greens again. Here, let's put those right up here for a second. And maybe a little bit of my blue into that green. Some blue into the green. We'll darken that down here. And let's come right all the way down here by this one. And real dark blue-green. Barely see it coming through there. Just barely pick that up because it's right into this. This is actually the cast shadow right here onto the stem. And then right before, then it goes right into the light, but a little bit of a blue-green light here. So we'll go light. So we'll pick up right about into here and we'll find that light. And he even has it as a slight angle right across there. Find that light here. There we go. So the light finally hits it. And you can, at the same time, add a little bit of that extra light right up at the top of a leaf or something like that. A little skip of light there. Looks great. Here. Let's add some of this light now. Right up here, right up towards this area here, which will be, we won't go quite up that high. But right down, this breaks down. Roll the brush a little bit so you get some variation into those colors. There, like that. That one comes up there. Let's get a little more yellow-green into that. A little more yellow-green. There we go. And put some of that color, a little bit of that, model that into the brush We're going to come right out here, right on the point of the brush. Roll the brush a little bit as you do this. So you get some variation, a little jaggedy. Right out here like that. And let's come right up to the top here. Now we have to do howding back up over here, but I can, you can do the howding if you need to make it darker, so you can do the howding here afterwards as well, and just wipe it back like I've showed you before. Wipe it back off of some of that, and you may have to, if you get it on the flowers or something too much, come back and put a little more light on the flowers, but that's what you do. But howding afterwards, putting some of the glaze on back afterwards like we did in the earlier lessons, even after it's all done, allows you to push back even the global shadow that would come from the whole form of this bouquet. So vary some green leaves coming in there. These are not sure what kind of little flowers these are, almost like a little milkweed type thing. But we're going to have some strokes of it, kind of a light green coming out like that, and we'll vary the color a little bit here. But some strokes of like a light green, little bluish tint sometimes. Here. Gray that down a bit, even a little bit of black into that, graze that down. Here. For this side. Here, like that. Some out here onto this side. Here like that. There, and then we'll lighten that just a touch. Push some small little touches up like this to kind of do the end of the flower here, like that. And I drug a little bit of color here, even right through here where I set it onto this one. I'll set that right there, clean that up. Where you put your big paw, it's careful when you're painting this kind of stuff. This is why it's kind of nice to put it up on an easel. But got most of the filming of this done down low like this instead of on the easel, so I thought I'd continue. We'll put the little edge into that. A little bit of just brushwork, just casual, touching it around like that. Kind of puts that edge on. Then we have some various little dots here, so we'll loosen up the color a little bit more so it's a little more liquid, and that allows you to put like little dots here and there into those. A few little dots. There like that. Maybe a few little edges of light, highlight. You can, how much detail you want to put on this. You can put little shadows on there, light and shadow to it. Like I say, once this is completely dry, when we get it completely dry like this, you can do the last howding, get it completely dry, protect it all with a coat of sealer, because then if you need to wipe anything off, you can do that. So, but these little flowers go right over where I might be doing some howding and stuff a little bit more, and so you might want to protect them with a coat of sealer, or just do it like I do. As you've done it so much, I'll just go ahead and do it, and wipe off the flower. Make sure everything's dry. We'll show a little bit of that. Put in some like little stems in through there for the flowers. That's kind of nice. Yeah, you can, how much you're going to do, how much you're going to put in, that's up to you. I'm just going to give the suggestions of these because there's just so much to look at in this painting now. You know, there's just so much stuff to look at. It's just amazing. So that gets that side here. We have some bugs to do. Then we have down in, I mean, it's like he has so much stuff. He has some more little twigs going on right down in this area. Now, this is, you know, an area that, you know, you might, as you're coming in, you know, putting it right in here. Let me just push up and we'll do a little bit here of this. Let me move over just a touch here. How to position some of this stuff sometimes is amazing. Right in through here. And they just barely show up into this area. It's going to cross some of this, some light green and even some yellows in here to almost a reddish yellow. Get a little bit of that brown matter in here too, or orangey kind of color. Cool it off here, a little bit of red violet. Cool that off. Darken that with just a little bit of black. That gives me a nice reddish brown to work with there. And some yellow some raw sienna, and maybe some nice toned green, some darker green. You can put that green down here, add a little bit of that red to it. Gives you a nice tone to that green here. You know, it's down in shadow. It's green and shadow, green and reddish kind of stock and shadow down here. It's going to come right up back behind, right where that handle comes in, right up here, right through this area here. So you barely see that there. Got to be careful here, Dave, where I set my hand here. And they're just going to come up in little S strokes up through this area here. Now, if you don't want to cover up some of your beautiful stuff you've already done, you might even let some of this go. But right out through here like this, that one comes up. Let's just kind of wiggle this down and around and join that right in there. Let's grab another one. And you can grab some of that reddish yellow and just toss some of that in there like that as well. Barely, you should just barely be able to see this. Here, it's really soft. Here. This one is going to come up. It's actually going to come up and go through. So it's going to come up and go through almost to that little like milkweed one we just put on. Here. Right into there. A little bit of that yellow. Hit up a little bit of that. Maybe just a touch of that light. There. And some of these, you'll see just like the little dark coming up over the edge of this. Sometimes it comes in kind of light, sometimes kind of dark. Out there like that. Some yellows and reddish yellows touched through there as well. And soft little grayed white flowers here. So I'll gray some white down here, some of my original shadowy kind of color. Gray these down. Bury that color, add a little green, a little red, little yellows in there. And we'll just start adding right up into this area here, right up between these stalks. We'll start adding some longer kind of pointed flowers here, petals. There like that. There. Then I'll join these flowers with some with some stems. In there. They should stay fairly soft. You can even tap them with your finger to take off a little bit of that color And that'll allow them to push back, see? Push back in there nice and soft. There. Then darken some of them down. There. Right down in here. And you know, again, like I say, it's how much you're gonna do. You know, how much detail, how much time you're gonna spend on it. But look at all the lovely stuff. I mean, you know, in just over an hour, we've added quite a bit to this painting here. And that's the nice thing about it, is you can do it kind of simple, and that just adds a tremendous amount to the painting here. It really does. Add a few other little stems or leaves here to that. And you know, it's like I always tell my students, when you're emulating masters and doing that, you know, you try to come and you try to render it pretty accurately, but there's just sometimes that, you know, rendering it too accurately makes it too stiff, and it's better just to catch the idea of it and let it be a little different, and let that spontaneity stay with that there. So there you have some of that. And he has little tiny dots and stuff with it. And, you know, and in reality, if you are little dots, little pollen dots and stuff, in reality, if you're looking at this painting and you step back far enough to encompass all this entire view of this, you wouldn't see all of those little flowers with those little tiny dots in there. I mean, it just doesn't happen. But, you know, if you walked up close to it, like what he would suggest here, because you wouldn't be able to see him, but if you walk up close, then you start seeing that detail, and that's exactly what he's trying to capture. Draw somebody in to look up a little closer at it with some of this detail, some of these little things and stuff going on in here, you know. So, and as where this is crossing some of the dark, he would have a little darker area down there, a little more in the dark picking up, because it's into the shadow, some shadowy shapes there, right up in front of the through light, and that's what becomes really important up there through the through light there. Okay, so you can have some of that, and it's just amazing. And if you look up real close, like, it's so funny, right up underneath here is like a little fly or a flying ant right underneath this, right into this area here. You put a little bug in there, and just amazing how much detail he put into some of this stuff, you know. So yeah, and that's up to you. But overall, we've got a nice, beautiful painting here, and I think that's lovely enough. I'm going to take some white here, and we're going to dirty this down with some of our blue, maybe a bit of a black, so you get a nice bluish gray here, and maybe a touch of the green and stuff into that. Nice soft gray color here that I can start this butterfly up here with, or moth. It's actually a moth. And I'm going to reach over here. Let me grab this. To stay out of those flowers, I'm going to grab my bridge here. And I'm going to just start basing in first the big part of the wing up here, pulling down. And it's just going to pull and streak down here. And streak the whole thing, but sometimes I'll pull out like this, out to the tip here. Just base that little guy in there, and some of his body here, and darken it down, gray it down a bit. for the back side back here. And back side back here. And he picks up a little bit more light through, almost like a through light, right up here underneath where that wing is. Picks up right here and then drops down and back down to the dark there again. But let's come in now and we'll pick up some of our black. We'll dirty that down a little green or blue, just some, take that black off so it's not black. Even a little raw sienna into that looks wonderful. Here, we'll add some water to that because we're painting acrylic. It doesn't need to be, wet. Stay wet here in any manner of means. And we're going to come in and we're going to do some first, some lines through here, some major lining of the wings of the butterfly here. Pull in some of the major ones here. The major ones pulling from the body out like that first. And up and around here. Just kind of streak up some lines. He would put in quite a bit of detail there. Some of these would appear back here into the back. Here, like that. And there'd be a lot of detail to these little streaks. I mean, a lot here. Streak it up a few times. Just that fine point of that brush there. And we'll come in just a bit more here. There we go. See that little guy there? And we'll pick up some more white. Let's drop down here. Some additional white. Loosen that up with just a bit of water here. There we go. And let's come in. And he has kind of a wider little light stroke here. Do that a couple times here. There we go. So that sets that part. Now a few strokes out for the light in the wings. Let it be kind of streaky. Stroked and streaky there. A little bit up here. Just so you get that nice, that streaky look into those wings. That's really what we're looking for. A nice kind of edge there. And you can take some, at any time you can take some dark and go back and re-streak. Pull that. We're just going to give the nice impression of that though. Let's go into put on the light part of his head here. A little bit pointed, just a little bit there. And he's got a moth, so he's got a big old eye there. So we'll put a big old eye in there. There like that. Pretty good. A little touch of gray underneath there. A little touch of gray along where his body would be in there. That darker color. You can refine some of those streaks up a bit here. I could also use my quill if I wanted to get really super detailed on that. I could, go right into my quill. And when you start getting super detailed, like you might want to take tiny bit of white on your brush and come right in here and just softly streak a little light side to that stroke that we applied there, like that. And this is basically how I'm going to do all the little moths and stuff and butterflies you see around here. You know, he has a multitude of them and multitude of colors, and you just kind of change the colors a little bit. But I work with from a medium value, and then I streak it a little darker. Then you'll streak little bits of light. And you keep them kind of simple here. Simple in execution. They're detailed in their streaking and the amount of colors and stuff that are on them. But in other words, in other ways, they're quite simple. And I'm going to take my quill here, which has a very, very fine point on it. And this is like what he would do with this little brush. Add some of that quill detailing and stuff in there. You can go back and forth too between, like, take you around with some light and then the quill till you get that moth to about the way you like it. Then we'll get rid of that dark out of there. We'll take a real thin little white into that quill right on the tip of the brush here. Right on the very tip. Come out just a little bit here, and just one little hair of that. We'll use that to put the little antenna there of the moth on, and a tiny little touch of it out here on the tip there. There, like that. And maybe I'll lighten up the front edge of this wing here. Around like that. And you have that that moth. Now I'll put a lower, not as light as the front here. Maybe just a little touch of that on the back wing as a little bit of a highlight right where it comes into that one there too. So they see some of that. But yeah, it's you can streak some of this light right on the front of that one there again. That might be a bit much, so I'll have to streak a little bit of dark into it. Soften it down just a touch. There. Like that. That's pretty good. Let's get a little more light right up there. Right up there, like that. That's a pretty good looking little moth there. That works out. Let's do this old guy over here. And we have, you know, he's done with some oranges, the orange color, some, yeah, let's push that right up there. Some orange, some naphtha red light, some Hansa yellow makes a nice bright orange. You can tone it down with a little bit of these reds we had here. And let's put in the end here, the big part of the front of his wing. It pinches down, gets thinner down right by his body and wider as you go out. Here. Sets that in. Almost kind of like a soft gray-brown kind of color. So I'll just use this kind of gray color here from the moth. And we'll use that for the back edge, the back wing there. That's kind of nice. And then you just go into some yellow details. Let's take some yellow oxide and some Hansa yellow. Maybe a touch of white into that. A little more yellow oxide. Nice light yellow color here. And nice nice yellow. And we're going to just decorate him a little bit to the outside of his wing here. Little taps and lines. That creates like little shimmers there. And of course, these little guys, you know, these little bugs, just like the flies, I'll paint all of them the same way with a little bit of detail, just a little. But I'll paint all of them the same type of technique. But, you know, how much you do, like I say, how much you do is up to you. Here, you can put some little bands of yellow here onto his wing. Doesn't have a lot of highlight shadow on it because he is really, really small. And even if you get up close to it, you really won't see him. Put a little touch here, like his little head here. Thank goodness there's something in here that he kept a little simple. Little bands of, put little bands of yellow onto these right here. Couple little touches there. Yeah, just a little tiny thing here. I'm going to add just a bit of gray to that body there of his there. Take that extra little dot out there. Reset that just a. There we go. Yeah, just a little tiny thing. Now, while we're right here in this area, one of the things that he'll have absolutely everywhere on this painting, and we'll put some on. We'll put these absolutely everywhere, and they're pretty. They're not hard to do, but is going to be these water drops. So we're going to take some light color here, or some of our gray, and usually you do the water drops with some kind of version of what it is here. So I want some kind of version of green. Here, I'll take some of my greens right into here. Okay, and what I'm going to do though is make it just a little bit lighter, and over to here, since the light is coming from the left, on this right side of the water drop over here, you'll have the light expression itself on the right edge of the water drop there, right there on that side there. Now let me come in quite a bit bigger here for you. Okay. Now, when I come over to do the other side here, I'm going to take some of my green and a little bit of black and make a little darker color. On the darker color, this inside edge of the darker color, so on the water drop itself, we'll keep the dark to the inside onto this side here, like that. A little bit of dark there on the inside. And then it gets the water drop actually, because it's a dimensional thing, actually makes a little bit of a cast shadow, which you will put underneath the light side over here onto that side there. Okay, so now what I'm going to do is, because that's really small, is I'm going to clean my brush and just take a little water and just take some of that light out just a bit. Just tap some of that light out. And I'm going to push over and tap some of that dark over there just a bit as well. Okay. Soften that out and around. You can put a little, and you know, some of them do, and he does. Of course, you know, he's completely into the detail. A little bit of a shine, a low shine over onto this side. Just a bit more of a line there. A little bit of a low shine over onto that side. And I'll use some shadow to kind of clean that up just a bit there. Like that. And then you'll put just the tiniest little, what we call catch light, or it's the light, it's the high, you know, a lot of decorative painters call it the highlight. Portrait painters and stuff call it the catch light. right in the front of that water drop right there where it's catching the light. So there you see that little water drop there catching that light there on that side here. Now you can also do those with like a small, I use my round there. You can also do those very simply with like a small flat here, you know, like your number 2 flat, or a little filbert that we talked about earlier. That works really nice. You can, I'm just going to lose a few of the edges there, and that's going to soften that water drop up a bit. I want to lose a little bit of my dark there, and that pushes that water drop softer into the leaf there. So now right up on here on this side, right up in the front here, we have some water drops that are kind of trailing down a bit. So we'll take a soft gray white here. Just mix that up a bit here. Okay, my soft gray white here. And one that comes down. It's so on the light side, the light's coming this way. Well, you got to see that, don't you? So it's better if you see it. Let me just move this over just a bit here. There we go. So right in this area, since the light is coming from this way here, then what I will do is I'll put the drug out light from this side. So I'll have kind of a rounding little light right here like this. And it's the water drop is pulling down a little bit, so it might be a little long up at the top up there. Okay. Then onto the other side here is, I'll wipe my brush here. I'll take some of my dark, thin little bit of my dark here, and I'll kind of draw the water drop drawn out a bit and around onto this side here, around there to that side, and then on this side next to the light here, this will be the cast shadow side, so it'll draw out and around underneath that just a bit there, like that. Okay, and that light that I have there is just a bit big, so I'm just going to take a tip of my brush and a little water and soften it out. We'll even drag that up there just a bit. Soften that light out just a touch there. Let's soften that edge there. You keep your details really small. You don't need to be very much to say that that's what it is here. Soften that dark there just a bit. So you get a shadow on the light side, which is coming in this way. So my left side here is the light side. On the water drop itself, you get a curved shadow to the inside. On the opposite side over here, you get a light right over there. And then underneath that light, which is, you know, right here, underneath that light, you get the cast shadow from the water drop here. Just going to round that up just a bit more here. Okay. So you get a little bit of that light. And I want to see still want to see the green from underneath the leaf in through that water drop there. So not too much of that light. And then what makes it more than anything else is I'll pick up just a tiny bit of the light on the end of my brush, and right to the left, because it's coming from the left, I'll put that little catch light touch right in there. And that's what makes it look like it's the little water drop there. Now I'm just going to take a little bit of my darker color here with my flat. I don't like the way that drew up there very well. That shadow here, so I want that to come around a bit more. And then I'll take some water and I'll walk into it to make it smaller, see? So it's right up against the edge of that water drop, or right up against the drop itself. There. Just lifting that out just a bit. There we go. Now you get a water drop there, and you have a couple more little ones, and you can use more, how thick or thin you make these lines is what really kind of makes them look, because you can do a little sketchy line, and you don't have to have a complete line. You can do like a little sketchy line there. Like there'll be a little one there maybe, right here, and another one right there over that. And then to the light side, here, let's just give the little point of the idea of the light here. And a little idea of the light here. There. Like that. There, like that. And a little bit thin, a little sketchy line here to the outside here of this one, of that side there. But the big thing is you don't want to outline it completely, so lose that line in a few places, lose that line, and soften that shine line there too, the light side of that. Soften that just a bit here. There we go. Soften it ever so. Just see it a little. That's the thing is you just need to see it a little. Oh, that's too big again. So very small. Here. There we go. Just push that out. And so you see just a little bit of that. See, that's better. And let's push some of that light out there. Just a bit of that out. The soft light there. Push a bit of that shadow out. Then what really makes the drop more than anything else, I find, is the little catch light. Here. So let's come in here. Well, let's come right in here like this. And just a little catch light. Just a little catch light there. And then you have the water drops there onto those. And you really, you can come back and with some of your greens and stuff that you want, if that gets a little bit too much for you, and the more you start to take out that shadow, the more you start to, so here I'm going to push this back just a little bit more. Start to take out that a little bit here. The softer that water drop becomes on the surface there. And, reduce that catch light side just a little bit. So I find I come back with a damp brush and just start to take out a bit. And I start to get the water drops right where I want them. Right to the degree that I want them to show up. So now you see, you step back like that, you don't even see them very much. Just a little bit there. That there's some water drops in that particular area there. And if that looks too much of a shadow or something like that, or the black looks too gray or too harsh or something like that, add a little bit of the leaf color to it, which is where the object that you're putting that water drop on, add that right into that color and that'll take it over. So there, since I'm on that, I'd be using a little bit of blue-green. And so that would make that softer too. It would make it actually more soft sitting in there. So let me show you that. So you can do that, but you would use the color of the object of that it's sitting on here. So using here instead of that black right there, a little bit of the blue green, Makes it just a touch softer. So here, a little bit of the blue-green there instead of that black. See how that softens that out just a bit? You can cause that water drop to stand up a little bit there too. But it's a little softer there. And we're talking tiny. You know, we're talking really, really tiny. But that blue-green is softer. It will soften that black there. There like that. And just kind of set it in there a little better. We'll set this, soften that black right there with this. That blue-green right there. And you can see you soften that whole dragging down water drop there. But again, it's how much you want to do. You know, how much you want to do. So you set that in. Everybody's a little different in how many you want to do. I think that sometimes they tend to kind of hose them down a little bit there too. So, you know, it's how much you you know, you want to put on those is up to you. Okay, so we'll have that. So you can see some of the twigs and little tiny flower details that we're going to do, and a little bit of the glazing. You know, you can go ahead and do that. We have some more details that we'll in the last lesson here we'll work on. I'll show you some of those details onto the last side, and then it's going through and just kind of refining everything. You know, I imagine that I'll take several hours and just come through and just kind of do little refinements and stuff into throughout the painting. Add as many water drops as you want. You have all kinds of photos to put in there and look at to see the details. And you'll see on some of those other small flowers, like I'll show you in the last lesson, we have little ants and everything, a couple other butterflies. We'll take a look at that some in the last lesson. Now, between now and the last lesson, you might want to you know, go through and restate some of your shadows again, some of your cast shadows through some of the areas. Look at your painting compared to the original painting there. Look at his global shadows of his light. And do you want to do any more houting to push some of that stuff back? And I'll show you houting in the last, a little bit of the last lesson, okay, next time. All right, till then, you have lots of these little things. You can go on with some of these other little stems and stuff and put some of those on as we finish up some of these final details and start wrapping this lesson up, okay? I'll see you on the last lesson next time. Bye-bye.